All right, folks, we welcome you back. It's hour number 2 of the big Steve Malzberg extravaganza. Welcome aboard. And, of course, we're going to talk more about the horrific shooting yesterday at Fort Hood with Congressman Mike Kelly coming up in just a few minutes. But I want to talk to you about something you may not have heard about. There's this an internet browser CEO, Mozilla, I believe is the guy, the company behind Firefox, and Brendan Eich is the new head of Mozilla, okay? Brendan Eich apparently is a homophobic bigot. Why? Because he once contributed money to Prop 8 in California supporting traditional marriage. And you can't do that, or there's something wrong with you. Watch how CBS covered this. You'll get an education. Here's 23.
Dating website OkCupid prides itself on matching all couple lesbians. So it was not okay for OkCupid when it learned that Brendan Eich was named the new CEO of Mozilla, the company behind the highly trafficked web browser Firefox. 6 years ago, he personally donated $1,000 to support Proposition 8, the California initiative banning same-sex marriage.
Are you following this? 6 years ago, he gave $1,000 to support Prop 8, which passed, which a majority of Californians voted for. So he's a bigot. He's a homophobe. He's an evil person. Next.
From Monday until late last night, anyone accessing OkCupid using Firefox saw this message first. Calling out Mr. Eich directly, it said in part, "Those who seek to deny love and instead enforce misery, shame, and frustration are our enemies, and we wish them nothing but failure."
In today's day and age, with social media being so immediate, that any public statement by a corporation needs to factor in how it represents the firm as a whole and how it's going to affect the brand for years to come.
Which is why Firefox is now in a firestorm of bad.
You know what it makes me want to do? It makes me want to use Firefox and only Firefox, not Internet Explorer. Nothing against Internet Explorer. For all I know, they might have a worker who once contributed to something that makes him a bad person. This is economic blackmail, but this is worse. This is not they're targeting a company because the CEO, the newly named CEO of the company, or is that the title? Yeah. Because he contributed. He made a perfectly legal, ethical, moral contribution to a cause which a majority of Americans in this country support, and that's marriage between a man and a woman. He's not a big, I don't know the man, but they're basing it on that. It's not like they could say, oh, we know that he treats gays such and such. Oh, he did this to gay employees once. No, they're saying 6 years ago he donated $1,000 to Prop 8. And they're upset that this man's career has advanced? Do you see the country we're living in? Harry Reid calls the Koch brothers un-American because he disagrees with them? This guy, whoever he is, and this move afoot to punish Firefox for putting this guy in charge of Mozilla and wanting this man, admittedly, to, in their own words, to fail because they disagree with him? And CBS treats this as like it's a legitimate story? Not that there's something wrong with the people who want this guy to fail, but that they have a right to, because look what he did. After all, he supported Prop 8. Maybe CBS should tell you, by the way, that blacks in greater percentage than any other segment of the population voted for Prop 8 in California at the time. Shh. Can't tell that. That would mean that blacks seem to be conservative on that issue. Shh. We know blacks aren't conservative. If you're a conservative black, you're Uncle Tom, right? So, folks, we should all be frightened and outraged and scared and mad and angry, but it's not good enough just to feel those feelings. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? And I'll tell you what we're going to do about it. The next time a company blackmails a state, a governor, a company, a person, and says, well, if you support traditional marriage, or well, if you believe in God, or well, say, oh yeah? Guess what, company? I'm not going to frequent you anymore. I'm going to look elsewhere. So your economic blackmail, or the beer companies that pulled out of the St. Patrick's Day parade, I'm not going to drink your beer anymore. And until we, the people, the ordinary people, and I'm just an ordinary person, can organize and get as well organized as the little special interest groups with a handful of members that write tons of letters and make tons of phone calls and send tons of emails and give these companies the impression that, oh my God, if we don't pull out of this sponsorship, or if we don't punish this company, or if we don't threaten to pull out unless they fire this guy, we're going to go bankrupt, when that's not the case at all. Because it's a small group who make a living doing that, writing the letters, making the phone calls, sending the emails. When in fact, if the masses, if you and I and the rest of us ever got together. By the way, we have the congressman yet? Because I haven't heard that in my ear. No. Okay. Then the real power of the people would be felt. And I'm sad to say that most people just shrug it off. You know, most people aren't going to care. You will. My audience will. But people hearing this on CBS, they'll say, what'd they promote that guy for? Or if they agree with that guy, they'll say, turn the channel. Nobody turns the channel anymore. You know, turn the channel. When I was a kid, you wanted the channel changed, you had to get up. I used to sit at the front of the TV, and my parents would always say, get away from the front of the TV, you're going to ruin your eyes. But you wanted to turn the channel. And of course, what would happen inevitably? It would crack, it would break, and then you had to call the TV repairman. Is there a TV repairman anymore? People's TVs last so long, and then they break them, they throw them out. But anyway, I digress, but I just turned the channel, that clicked in my head. Anyway, it's scary, it's sad, and it's scary, and we cannot allow it to continue. Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is our friend Congressman Mike Kelly, Republican, Pennsylvania Ways and Means Committee member. Hello, Congressman.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here always. All right, first of all, the horrific occurrence at Fort Hood yesterday. Your reaction, and you know, there's a bill out there that would enable our soldiers to carry weapons on their own bases, which right now they're not allowed to do. How do you weigh in on that?
Well, you know, I think that oftentimes as we talk about this coming into the private sector, these things are just common sense. And we see this happen. And you look what just happened at the Navy Yard. The same thing happened. You would think that, my goodness, how many times does this have to happen before we learn? And it doesn't make sense to me, and it doesn't make sense to any people I talk to in the real world. And I'm not talking about down here, because once you get inside this loop, sometimes things get a little crazy. But, you know, you look at that and say, why wouldn't you do it? These people were trained in firearms. Who would be better equipped to be armed on a military base than our actual personnel? It just makes every bit of common sense that could be out there. And I think the thing more than anything else, Steve, these people that do these things, they realize that we're not armed. I mean, all of these things usually take place in no-gun zones. I mean, that's the thing. Right. I think that we look at and we say, what in the world are we doing? Don't advertise that there's no guns there. I would rather say this place is heavily armed. Enter at your own risk.
Absolutely. How many of these limousine liberals would put signs outside their mansions or homes, no guns inside? I mean, that's ridiculous. It just wouldn't happen. I mean, do you think there's a chance now? I mean, it didn't happen after Fort Hood #1, didn't happen after the Navy Yards. What's holding up this bill from being passed, at least through the House?
I have absolutely no idea, but I know there's right now the momentum and the concerns are running very, very high. I think all of us kind of were in suspended animation yesterday as this news first came across. It's wait, this is happening again? And I think that now you look at that and you will be hard-pressed to find a member of the House. Now, I'm not saying, I've only been here 3 years, but I've run into some unusual characters.
I bet you have.
So I'm not going to say, I don't know how anybody couldn't go along with this. I look at all this stuff and, oh, my goodness. I think that right now, there's concern, there's awareness, and this is one of those times that you have to say, okay, enough's enough. Yep, let's get this done.
I agree. All right, let's shift to Obamacare and this really phony number of 7.1 million. You know, there was a RAND study that came to light yesterday that said possibly 856,000 number of people who did not have health insurance now have it and have paid. 850, and it makes sense because when you look at the people who had health insurance and lost it, 6 million or so, we were told, sure, they're going to want it. They're going to have to get health insurance again. They had it, they need it, they got families, they need it. So many of them that had it are in the 7 million, they say, that signed up. So there's a net gain of like 1 million people. And so we turned our whole system upside down for that. What about the 30 million who we were told don't have it and we're going to get it? Where are they?
Oh, yeah. Well, of course. But this is, again, you know what, and as I was growing up, and, you know, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, and a lot of times you hear things as you're growing up and they kind of stick with you. They're just old sayings that people have. And there's a saying out there that figures don't lie, but liars can figure. These folks take any number they want and they jostle it around, they twist it, they turn it, they use different font, and it all comes out to the same thing. The president lost credibility on this long ago. Now trying to regain it, and I see these folks walking around here with these patches on that say seven.
Oh no! Don't tell me that. Really? They got patches?
You know, I mean, it couldn't be 7,438,462. No, it's 7,100,000.
Right.
Exact. Period. Let's just add the period to it. 7,100,000. Right. Period. Listen, the clothes are off this one. Everybody realizes that the emperor has no clothes on this one, and they understand that. Look, as going forward, we are, if nothing else, and we talked about the shooting the other day in Fort Hood. If nothing else, now we are aware that these horrible things are taking place and happening. This Obamacare thing, as it goes forward, people understand it now more clearly than they ever have before. They understand that it's bad for America. They understand that a lot of the things in this piece of legislation that never came to light before it was voted on are the things now that are sinking it. Now, I got to tell you, for some of our friends on the other side, they can't run far away from this fast enough. But now they're trying to say, well, see, it's actually working. Right. The president sounded like a crowing rooster the other day, taking credit for the daybreak out there. Just, oh my, and we've got all this going on. It's time for people to stop being deniers.
Don't you love that word also? But he said it's settled, it's over, they're deniers. And why do Republicans want to take health care away from people? I mean, it's the demagoguery again that's starting up.
Yeah, listen, this was never about health care itself. This was about signing up for insurance. If it was really about truly improving the lot of our citizens through good health care reform, that's one thing. This is about insurance and being able to get insurance. It was supposed to be affordable and accessible health care. The one thing we know right now, the numbers aren't affordable. Wait till next year. Wait till next year as we start to peel away these different layers of the onion and find out just how much this piece of legislation is really going to cost. The people here in the office, as you know, they had to go off and they had to get, they were insured, but they had to go off and get their own insurance. It's partly funded. It's like any employer, partly subsidized. But the policies they have now are not as good as the ones they had.
And they're more expensive.
Yeah, the premiums are higher, the deductibles are higher, and they're saying to themselves, so where's the good part of that?
And they are among the people who Obama's counting as the 7 million. He got them thrown off their health insurance, so they had to take this. Congressman, thank you so much, sir. Up against a hard break. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congressman Mike Kelly, ladies and gentlemen, Republican from the great state of Pennsylvania. All right, when we come back, Sergeant Howard E. Ray. He was a hero. He is a hero. From the last Fort Hood massacre, he saved 9 soldiers' lives. And we're going to be joined by him, and he'll talk about that and yesterday. Sad. On the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax Television. Don't go away.
We don't just talk about the news. We talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.